Okay, now back to the Lord's Prayer. Phil, I'm giving Phil a real workout today. Luke chapter 11, verse 2. Jesus says, when you pray, say, Our Father. What's carried with that is the idea of what it means to be a father. But notice he doesn't just say, Our Father. He says, Our Father which art in heaven. Now, what does that mean? Why is that important? Well, because he's not limited by the things that physical people, or he's not an earthly father. He's in heaven. He is above and beyond and outside and superior to the creation. Therefore, he's not bound by the natural world. You see, I as a father am limited. There's only some things I can do, and my limits are very real. I'm limited by the limitations of this physical world. But God as a father is not limited because He is in heaven. He's the Creator has power over the creation. He has power over that which He has created, and He is able to intervene. Now, I'm not able to do everything. You know, I could give you $5 out of my wallet. I'm going to stop right there. I haven't looked today to see what's there. I just took a trip yesterday. I don't know what's left, really. Boy, money just flows like water when you're on these trips. Anyway, I can help you to the limits of what I can do, but God in heaven is not limited. He is Lord over, He is the Creator of the creation, and He is not bound by physical laws and He created the physical laws in the physical world. So Jesus said, keep that in mind when you pray. You're praying to someone who's above and beyond everything you feel, see, and hear and touch in this physical world. Our Father which art in heaven. Then He says, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed means holy. What does that mean? Well, it means separate from. See, He's separate. He's above and beyond, and He's not bound by, and He's not limited by what's in this natural world. Higher than that which He has created. Now let's go on to the next verse. Oh no, same verse. No, go away. I didn't finish this one. This is very interesting. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Listen now. As in heaven, so in earth. Now, He didn't just say, here's what a lot of people take from this. I think we have blinders on sometimes. We just see one part and miss the rest. Some people have, and I've had people say this to me, well, when I pray, I always say, thy will be done. But notice He doesn't just say that. See, that's one little part right here. These 5 words here. He says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, comma, as in heaven, so in earth. He doesn't just say, pray thy will be done. He says, pray thy will be done as in heaven, so in earth. What he means is, His will is being done in heaven, pray that it be done in the same way on earth. Or in other words, we could say, same thing's going on in heaven, He wants it that way here. Well, what's going on in heaven? Well, we have some ideas. You know, we have a pretty instinctive understanding. But why don't we turn to the book of Revelation and just see at the end how He describes some things? And I think it's kind of enlightening. Look with me just for a moment in Revelation chapter 21, verse 2. And I'm coming right back. And if you don't want to turn here, Phil will get it for you. That's a good thing about having the computer. I'm going to start with verse 2. Now, this is talking about the holy Jerusalem. This is highly spiritual, symbolic language. I think commonly understood to be speaking of the future, although I would like to make the case that it doesn't necessarily have to be future, that this could very well just as easily be speaking of present tense spiritual reality. But at any rate, let's just read what it says. I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem. Notice these words. Listen. Coming down from God out of heaven. Now, in the Lord's Prayer, He said, as in heaven, so in earth. Here He says, I see something coming down from God out of heaven. In other words, coming down from God out of heaven to the earth. The new Jerusalem, the heavenly city. Now He's going to describe what it's like. Prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. Right away, that reminds me of how He speaks of us in the church. So how is this relationship? What is this new Jerusalem, this heavenly Jerusalem, which is, by the way, again, hear these words, coming down from God out of heaven. And it's coming to the earth, verse 3. I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold. He's now describing the details. Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. Another translation, the Weiss translation, says God will live in the same tent with men. Now we generally read these chapters and say, well, won't that be wonderful in the future? You know, I can turn to other passages in the New Testament that say that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost right now. I would like to make the case that He already dwells in the same tent with men. This might be just talking about the church and the relationship that we have with God right now. But at any rate, we're talking about heavenly realities coming down from heaven, made real on earth. The tabernacle, the dwelling place of God, is with men. He will dwell with them. They shall be His people. God Himself shall be with them. and be their God. Well, that's pretty good. What's the why? What does that mean to have that situation? Verse 4. God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. Now we might say, won't that be wonderful when we get to heaven and He'll wipe away all tears? Listen, I'm here to tell you He'll wipe away the tears from your eyes right now. As in heaven, so in earth. If you think He'll wipe away tears from your eyes in heaven, Jesus said when you pray, say, Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done, as in heaven, so in earth. I say, why wait? I say, if I've got some tears need to be wiped away, here I am. I'm ready right now. He wants. I think He wants that to be a reality in our lives right now. And it's so beautiful too. I don't mean to diminish the beauty of this. Do you sense the tenderness in this? God's tender care over us. God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. There shall be no more death. Well, somebody would say, well, you can't say that's present tense reality. Well, Jesus said, whoever lives and believes in me will never die. I don't know what do I do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? What I would like to do with that is say, well, Jesus evidently knows what He's talking about. He did say that in the 11th chapter of John's Gospel. He said, whoever lives and believes in me will never die. So I have no choice except to say there's no Christian believing in Him that's ever died. Well, where are they then? Oh, they're still alive. They're still alive. They're just living in a different location. He didn't say He won't change addresses. Yeah. The real you is not a body, by the way. He will dwell in the same tabernacle. This is the tabernacle. And if this tabernacle, for whatever reason, is not able to be inhabited anymore, the real you has another. See, Paul said, we have a building not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. I can quote that so easily because I read it all the time at funerals. But I want to attract people's attention to the reality of it. See, I would say this is true right now. I think it makes me happier to think of it that way. I don't know about you. That's just how I look at it. There shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Well, see, I can understand when a person would read this, how you might say, well, that's talking about heaven. Okay, fair enough. Let's just say that is. But Jesus said, when you pray, say, Thy kingdom come. See, John said, I see something coming down from heaven to the earth, right? This is it. He said, I see it coming down out from heaven, from God. When you pray, say, Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. It almost makes me think He wants us to have heaven on earth. I used to think, when I first became a Christian, that the main goal, God's main plan for me, was to get me somehow, some way, from here to there. And so, because I would hear people say, well, you need to get saved so you can die and go to heaven. That's what I heard people say a lot. And so when I finally did become a Christian, I thought, well, nothing left for me to do but somehow get there. And it took me a long time to find out that He had something bigger. And see, it frustrated me that I thought by Him leaving me here, I would have thought He'd been better off to kill me right after I became a Christian than I could not stay here to foul it all up. See, I thought I was messing up this deal. I felt pretty clean for about 10 minutes, I felt like I was doing all right, until time went by, and, say something wrong, do something wrong. But see, it took me a long time to discover that His plan was bigger than what I imagined. It was bigger than just getting me from here to there. Now, I don't want to diminish the reality of there. And there is there. He's the Father of the whole family, both in heaven and earth. But His bigger plan, not just to get me from here to there, but to get what's happening there happening here. As in heaven, so on earth. And His way of doing that is through me and you and us. Notice that He said, I see the bride coming down out of the New Jerusalem, described as a bride, coming down from God out of heaven. You know what that implies to me is that He sees the church as a vehicle for getting heaven to the earth. That's just something you can ponder and think about that. Okay, let's see. Verse 5. He that sat... verse 4, go back. He said, the former things are passed away. Give me verse 4 again, Phil. Notice the end of this. For the former things are passed away. What that reminds me of when I read those words? It reminds me of 2 Corinthians 5:17. This says, if any man be in Christ, he's a new creation. Old things have passed away. Does that sound like that? Former things are passed away. And verse 5 says, and He that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, old things have passed away, everything's been made new. It almost makes me think God's not waiting around. He wants this thing going right now. Makes me think that. See, I think that's what Jesus is saying. Verse 6 is good too. Let's read one more. He said to me, it is done. I can show you where Jesus said the same thing on the cross. It is finished. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give to him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. You know, that is a present tense reality. Jesus even offered the woman of the well that. He said, if you knew who you were talking to, you would ask me and I'd give you the water of life, or a living water.